Yo, we here? Y'all there? What's going on, man? It's Cavario H, aka the Mind Plug, and you are tapped into We Are Poppin' Son, the number one father and son talk show in the world. What's happening, Holiday Roy? You the first in. Appreciate you, man. The Dawn 4P on point as always. What's goody? Now, where you at, Mr. Tymillz? Where you at, Mr. Tymillz? Tap yourself in there, sir. There you go. All right. I see you. I see. What up, though, dog? 4P. What's happening? What's happening, son? What's good with you?
What's up?
Shit, man. Where you at? You still up top?
Yeah, I'm out of here tomorrow.
Okay. How's it up there? Look like you wearing a jacket. What is it still?
Oh no, it's chilly, but I mean it's a nice today. It's not too
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's summertime. Down this way.
I know it's nice as shit down there. I know I'm
Yep.
missing it.
Yep. They can have that shit. They can have that shit up there, man. Is pretty much everything about it. You know what I was thinking about the other day? What up, S Jones 4553? Thanks for tapping in, man. I think we got Darren Van Allen in the building, Geechee Ferg. What's going on? So, yeah, they popping in. The House of Sufian was up, Mo. And who else we got in here with us today? I am Face the Chef. Bang 408 Bang, I see you. Welcome to We Poppin' Son, the number one father and son talk show in the world. 50-50 Debo, the Dawn TV. What's going on, man? He's been with us a long time, too. What's happening, man? Supreme Leader, 212, Supreme Leader. So, there's something that recently happened, and I mentioned this a few months ago. I was talking about Clarence Thomas and his betraying ass. You know, there's some so-called black people who are really against the best interest of black people. And I would say there's a lot of black people. I believe that when I was in the street selling drugs, I was against the interests of black people. But I had no idea. I had no perspective, but I was definitely against the interests of black people. Anybody who was selling heroin and cocaine in their own communities to their own people day in and day out is in conflict with the best interests of black people, period. So-called black people, which I'm very much anti that term. We are the original indigenous people of this land. They turned us into everything, Negroes, African Americans, all type of shit. But we are the people who were here when they fucking got here, right? Even before those people came across the Bering Strait, okay? Those are the fucking facts. Any case, bringing it up to right now, Clarence Thomas and others like him who are very much aware, unlike myself so many years ago, about the detrimental things as they relate to the condition of melanated people here that they do and how they are counterproductive to us, like voting in conflict to the Section 2 of the Civil Rights Act from 65, right? So I pulled up a couple of things that I wanted to share. And firstly, let me explain to y'all what Section 2 is, right? Section 2 is the law's anti-discrimination backstop for voting, right? It has been used to fight unfair maps and election systems, but the recent court ruling made that protection harder to use. I talk all the time about how those people are very persistent and systematic in their efforts to take back any advances that we as a collective were able to make during the whole civil rights era movement. Everything they've been doing, especially since this guy's been in office, it has been about reversing all of the advancements that were made by our grandparents' generation, my grandparents' generation, many of y'all, your great grandparents' generation. And because of the system of distraction that's been built into our community, so all cats think about is money, designer, big asses, guns, ops, gangs, bullshit. So much so that they have been quietly and not so quietly recently moving around in the background, dismantling everything that has served as the foundation for existence in this country that the last two generations have been experiencing. So all of these abilities, these liberties that you've had, that you've been able to say anything you feel like saying on your records or, on your social media, and, being able to just have a freedom and liberty to do and be how you want to be, not knowing that your ability to do that, your ability to walk in the front door of an establishment, your ability to go to any school you want, all those things were fought for. They were not just given. And this apprehension about history in terms of like wanting to learn it, wanting to understand what took place is like it's like suicide. Because one, you don't know what took place, so you don't understand what's happening now is the same thing that took place prior to the things that our people fought for generations ago. You don't understand that. For some reason, y'all don't think that that shit was real. Y'all don't obviously think about it at all. You don't seem to understand that those things are not something that just maintain themselves. These conditions, these liberties you have, the ability to vote for whom you want to vote for and all that kind of stuff, and vote people into positions that are going to impact your everyday existence. Y'all don't think that these things matter. It's obvious that there's a whole generation of people that don't think this matters. Is that accurate, son? Would you say that was accurate?
It definitely is accurate.
So do you ever have conversations with cats about any of this type of stuff at all? You ever hear cats talking about any of these things at all?
No, I mean, most of the times you might get into a conversation like this, but it's far and few in between. And it's really, everybody's really focused on their immediate, their immediate issues and immediate problems, not the overall thing.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of how people will come together in a community of people where most of the people are struggling with rent, with groceries, with medication and being able to afford it, with childcare, with employment, and they'll all get together to throw a party, say a picnic, and you bring the paper plates and you bring the plastic cups and you bring the soda and you bring I'll make the chicken and I'll make the this and I'll do the that and and they all come together to create this situation where everybody's eating and drinking and playing cards and laughing and joking and playing all that together, right? And no one person amongst them could have done it by themselves. And they all understand that. And nobody has a problem with doing their part, mostly, to bring this situation together. But then all those people will spend that entire day, afternoon, evening, engaging and enjoying and sharing and so forth. And then they will, in this event, go their separate ways. And their circumstances, the situations that are there, what you say, the most immediate concerning personal things, will not have been improved at all. They will have had what they call a temporary reprieve from having to think about it while they drink and smoke and laugh and joke and all of that. But they never, hardly ever think about, certainly not with as much frequency as they like to party and bullshit, about doing that same thing to bring together that collective energy and resource to create something like a voting consciousness awareness kind of thing, or helping somebody get something other than someone buried. Like they don't understand the universal applicability of this collective community thing when it comes to things that actually matter. It seems that there's a tremendous amount of short-sightedness in our collective, like for real, like nobody is paying attention to any type of a bigger picture. It's, again, like that man said in this book here all those years ago, right? He said, the black people, we call them the child race because they'll believe anything you say. And it's becoming more and more unavoidably evident to me that this is the case. This is why a lot of progressive black people, educated, informed people who are directed towards information and learning and growing, that's why the more that is understood, the further away they get from the collective melanated community. Why they move away, go to different schools, put their kids in different schools. That's why that happens, because it does seem as though most people in our collective, it seems like this. Maybe this is just the widespreadness of the propaganda. Maybe this is just based upon so much imagery pushed through social media, movies, songs, and all the stuff that people consume that contributes to their collective idea or vision of us. But it does seem like there are little to no mature, responsible, forward-thinking, melanated people most anywhere, whether it's Memphis or Texas or Dallas, Houston, New York, Trenton, New Jersey. Like, no matter where you go, you can find plenty of motherfuckers walking around with guns in their pockets, guns in their waistbands. And, me saying this may be contributive to this idea that I'm talking about that's perpetuated about us. But my saying it is also based upon my own personal, not through this medium, this square experience. I see this. And I've been seeing it. I was seeing it when I was in the street. I was seeing it when I was doing the magazine thing, and we were all over the fucking place, all in, Miami and Detroit and Chicago. And, I used to be in the Ickies. I used to be in Dearborn. I used to be in Cabrini. This is what I was seeing everywhere, and it's gotten more popular to be at these levels of vibration, these low levels of vibration, where this image that's been perpetuated through Minister Society and all these types of films, Boys in the Hood, and all the music that goes with that, has been increasing. Like, people assimilating with that kind of mindset and mentality has been increasing. I see it. So it is like we are some sort of collective of children, no matter what age. It seems like it. Am I off? Am I wrong with this?
Nah,
Like, what?
you right on point. They stop developing around 15, 16 years old and be in this perpetual state of like high school mindset throughout the rest of their life.
Yeah. Well, everything, like I've always told you, son, everything culminates to a thing, right? There's no way that using the old adage about painting yourself into a corner. Everybody has heard, I'm assuming everybody has heard the expression painting yourself into a corner. Like a lot of these old expressions, a lot of people don't think about what that actually means or what is actually being communicated by that. So I want y'all to close your eyes for a sec and imagine you are in a room. There's a door And then there's the room. That door is the only way in and out of that room. And if somebody says, I want to paint this floor. I want you to paint this floor. And you say, okay, I'm going to paint the floor. All right. And I want a good, clean job, man. I don't want smudges or drags or dirt or none of that. I want a good, clean job. Okay, no problem. I got you. I got the paint. I got the brush. I got the time and I got the skill. Let's do it. And then you start painting. A lot of people, transferring the metaphor to real life, a lot of people will start painting at the door because they're not thinking it through. And they start painting at the door and they start painting. So they walk in the door, they start painting, start painting, back up, paint, back up and paint, back up and paint, back up and paint, back up and paint, get the side, bring it down to the middle. And before they know it, they're standing in the corner of the room. The door is here. And so that's the door right here. You got this wall, this wall, this wall, and this wall. They paint themselves right up to that corner right there. Now they're in the back of the room looking at the door, and the whole floor is painted, and they're just standing there as proud as they can be. But then they realize they can't get out without fucking up the floor. They got to walk on the floor they just painted. Painting yourself into a corner it epitomizes what we as a collective, melanated people, have been doing very much over the last 40 years. And a lot that the paint that we've been using is all of these negative, destructive, counterproductive, ignorant, backward, violent, short-sighted, cultural things that we've adapted over these, like, without thinking about. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make some money. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna rap like that. I'm gonna push this kind of image, and I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna make money. I mean, even before that, I'm gonna sell drugs. I'm gonna make all this money, whatever, and you know, and I'm gonna make all this money, and I'm gonna make money, and not thinking. Like, when the people whom I was brought into the life, my parents and my predecessors, they weren't thinking that one day there would be a music and a culture that would adapt this lifestyle, this very destructive lifestyle that is mostly lived very quietly in terms of like what is actually going on. Like, nobody's broadcasting what we're doing. Like, if you get an idea, you get an idea, but nobody's going to confirm that idea. Nobody's going to tell you whether it's right or wrong or anything else. Like, if you think you get it, you get it. They never anticipated that one day there would be a genre of music that would take this lifestyle, this destructive, violent, poisonous lifestyle, and turn it into the fabric of their entire existence. I think if anybody had thought about that, we would have stopped doing it back in the 70s. We'd have like, yo, we can't do this no further. If somebody would have came from, say, 2097 and came back and said, hey, look, in the future, your grandchildren are going to be making music and putting forth imagery that shows all of this stuff, but out of context. They won't show the ODing and the destroyed families and all of the people who could have been progressive and productive in society that instead end up being drug addicts and, you know, drug dealers and murderers or victims of drug addicts and drug dealers. Like, they don't show none of that. They just show the cars, the jewelry, the clothes, the fancy lifestyle. That's all they show. And it's like they're marketing it and they're selling it to everybody, not just those small group of people who live in the community, who are from the community, but are the only ones who are participating. It's not just them. They're selling it to everybody. And your 5-year-olds and your 10-year-olds and your 12-year-olds, they'll be exposed to this stuff that these kids are saying that they won't have any idea what the real meaning of it is. If that had been able to happen, I think a lot of people would have been like, yo, we got to stop. We got to figure something else out. You know? So that not being the case, here we are. To the point where there is so little wherewithal about what is actually happening outside of that minuscule mental bubble that we don't see the rug being pulled out from underneath us systemically. We do not see it, right? So let me share something with y'all. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, right? This is why I'm bringing this back up from a conversation from, a couple of months ago. All right, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is the part of the law that says voting rules can't deny or weaken someone's vote because of race or color. In plain language, it gives people a way to sue when election maps or voting systems are set up in a way that dilutes the political power of Black, Latino, Native, that would be us, or other protected voters, right? So this is how it has been used. And maybe I should explain, let me see, Section 2, no, I'll hold that up. So how it has been used. Recently, Section 2 has been used most often to challenge racially unfair redistricting maps and at-large election systems. Now, let me explain to you what redistricting is. Redistricting means redrawing the lines of voting districts, right? Voting districts, so people who they vote for let me do this again. Redistricting means redrawing the lines of voting districts so people know who they vote for in an election. All right. In plain language, after the census shows that people have moved or population has changed, like a place that used to be predominantly white may now be predominantly other, meaning melanated people, Hispanic or Spanish speaking melanated people, or anybody that isn't a Caucasian, right? So when a population has moved or changed, states and local government redraw district maps. So each district has about the same number of people. Those lines decide which neighborhoods are grouped together for Congress, state legislatures, city councils, and other elected offices. And it matters because changing the lines can change who gets political power. When the lines are drawn unfairly to help one party or weaken a racial group's voting strength, that is called, and you've heard this, gerrymandering. I know y'all have been hearing this. I assume that,
Gerrymandering.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right. So, because if you're watching is Vlad TV, Adam 22 or No Jumper, academics. I'm trying to think of who these popular not mainstream, but these popular hood mentality attracting platforms. They're not talking about gerrymandering. Everybody else who is in tune with what's happening in the reality around us talking about gerrymandering.
Whack 100 never gonna say, yo, nigga got indicted for gerrymandering, son. I got the paperwork.
Right. Exactly. You know, that the art of dialogue, the fuck out of here. The art of dialogue. Obviously, motherfuckers don't know what art or dialogue means if they accept that bullshit that fuck boy putting out. And that's how I don't know that boy from Adam. I just know what his work says. As a for instance, not to get too far off, but to make a point about these platforms that a lot of us apparently are directing our attentions to. I saw a clip today where he asked the ex-wife or the wife of Muhammad Ali about experiences. What experiences you had, or basically tell me about a bad experience you had with a celebrity. You're talking to the wife of one of the most prolific, if not the most prolific athlete and icon of the last 70 years.
Let me hear
And
some
that's
civil
what
rights
you
gossip.
ask?
Let me hear some civil rights gossip. So who was fucking Rosa Parks?
No, worse than that. Celebrities. He's asking about her encounters with celebrities. Because this is the level that his dickhead mind is on. And he's talking to a bunch of other dickheads. He's attracting, he knows who he's talking to. This might not even be, in all fairness, something that is of his own interest. He might not even be interested in this shit. But he knows who he's talking to. He basically knows what side his bread is buttered on. Who am I speaking to? Who is paying attention to what I'm putting out? Who's on my platform? Well, motherfuckers who, one, probably don't even know who Muhammad Ali really was and what he did. Two, who can't relate to anything but low vibrational conflict, gossip, bullshit. You know, the shit pot. And this is what a bunch of people are apparently paying attention to. And so the word gerrymandering is not part of those conversations. Although that is one of the most profoundly impacting conditions being waged against us as a collective. I'm telling you, and I've said this before, these people are trying to reduce us to a point that will resemble what your great grandparents dealt with living in this country. Y'all don't think, but you better know that we can absolutely be reduced to a point where it will be legal for them to stop you from walking into a place because, well, you're black. And these people have a right to refuse service to anybody they want, and they don't want to serve black people. Or you can't drink from that fountain or go in that bathroom because you're black. There's a bucket around the corner. These are
And
the conditions that we lived in.
it's their right to be able to say that you can't drink from this.
That's right.
That's what they're pushing now.
That's right. That's right. It's reverse racism to make us have to hire people just because we don't have enough other than white people working in our company or our business, or we're not breaking bread as a company or corporation with enough black or non-white contractors. Many of y'all are not paying attention to the actual and deliberate dismantling of this world around you, you stupid motherfuckers. Now go ahead and run away because you don't want to hear it, because your brain can't wrap itself around it. And think what you think you're going to do. You think you're going to shoot your way out of it? Motherfuckers ain't got enough bullets. You ain't got enough bullets, my nigga. For real, for real.
It don't even matter if they had all the bullets. These niggas can't shoot.
You got a valid point there, son. You got a valid fucking point there. You real. You right with that. Niggas can't shoot. Niggas cannot shoot. And that ain't new, because I used to take cats to the motherfucking Poconos like every Sunday. We'd hang out all night, hit the bar, hang out, drink, go to the club, hang out, kick it, dance, kick it. And I'd have one of my little broads with me, and then we'd go to the diner at 4 o'clock in the morning, fuck around in there for an hour or so, eating, wilding, and then I'd pack my truck up, the Bronco, the MPV, or whatever it was, and I'd take niggas from the hood, you know, that was hanging out with us, or I'd go scoop them up. Yo, nigga, what's up, nigga? Come on, man, we're going up upstate. We're going to the Poconos. I take niggas to the Poconos, take them up to this place called Tannersville, man. It's a little like in the woods, redneck, in the woods ass, like big shooting range. It's outside. And it's run by these redneck people, nicest people in the world. And they had every kind of weapon you could think of, nigga. Every kind. I would bring my joints sometime, and they didn't want you to use your own bullets, though. And, you know, they would let you rent any joints you want, whatever, and I'd have niggas up there shooting. The girls always did very well. The guys, never. They all were terrible at shooting. All of them. It was all, no matter what it was, whether it was a 22 or 9 or 38 or M1 rifle, AK-47. They just could not shoot. We do skeet shooting, like pull, boom. Niggas couldn't hit the side of a barn, my nigga, with a fucking 12 gauge. Terrible. So these kids running around now, the children and grandchildren of those niggas. Okay. So, and all they do is target practice on each other anyway. You know what I mean? But you're right. Niggas can't shoot straight any fucking way. So all the bullets, you ain't gonna shoot your way out of this. I'm telling you. What we're dealing with now is intellectual challenge. So if your mind ain't up to the challenge, you're gonna find out what you would do if you was alive back in the days. You're gonna find out because we're heading for back in the days. We're heading for back in the days, my nigga. They have a system of deconstruction, and we don't seem to have a system of reconstruction or maintaining the construct that we currently have. Everybody apparently thinks that somebody else is taking care of it, worrying about it, and working on it, apparently. Right? So you know what gerrymandering is, right? Gerrymandering is when the lines are drawn unfairly to help one party or weaken a racial group's voting strength. That is called gerrymandering, right? Now, Section 2.
They just use gerrymandering to get Jasmine Crockett out of the Senate.
Yes. And we definitely needed a crusader and a representative like Jasmine Crockett in the Senate. I don't know what people think. Again, I'm almost apprehensive about using the term think, because think implies that there's some kind of deliberate cognitive process occurring. And I don't see evidence of that. I don't see any evidence of that, not on the larger scale as it relates to our collective, you know, and nor with the white people. But the difference is they don't have to think. All they have to do is move with the system that they at least believe is working in their favor. They believe that it is, the average common white person. It isn't, but they believe it is. And like Lyndon B. Johnson said, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the highest black man, he will empty his pockets for you. And that's what they're doing. That's why you have all these people in the Midwest and all of losing their farms and all that type of shit, whatever. And they voted for that shit because all they could think of was white forwarding, you know, pushing whiteness forward, because that's what they were trained to do. They're not thinking, because if they were thinking, then they would have understood what they were subjecting themselves to. They're not thinking either. The difference is that if they've got enough savvy, they might be able to finagle themselves some peace of mind out of that situation. We, on the other hand, us not thinking just means we're going to die in the dark. That's all that means. Because there is no system of supporting us. We don't have a system of support. We got to fight for everything as we have up until this point, right? Everything that we have had and have enjoyed, we fought for. And the fact that there's two generations at this point. My generation, for the most part, didn't have much, if any, wherewithal about any of the shit that took place before we came along. I mean, I was born in 1967. This is the Civil Rights Act of 1965. So 2 years before I got here, this shit was completely different. And by the time I become aware of anything, say it's 10 years later, 1975. I don't have a clue as to, I'm aware of things because a lot of it, I mean, the Vietnam War had just ended like 2 years, 1973. You know, there's a lot of things that I was aware of, but I was also insulated in a subculture that preoccupied my conscious awareness. I see all this money, all this materialism, all this grandiose behavior and so forth. That's got my immediate attention. So I'm not really cognizant of what the fuck has happened just before I got here and how close we are to that and had continued to be to that the whole time. Hip hop comes along, That's still right there. And they're still the ones who had to relinquish that control and that power and enable people of our makeup to be able to have greater degrees of influence and access to this system here. They were sitting there going, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out how to get this shit back. We're going to figure out how to get it back. They didn't go, oh, they got us. It was, I guess it's over. No, they just went back and said, how did they figure out how to use the system we had in place to finagle out of it something that we never intended for them to have? All right, fix that. And if it takes 20, 30, 40 years to fix it, that remains the primary goal, to fix that, to undo what they were able to do and to disenable it from happening again. Well, part of that disenabling it from happening again is making sure that the generations that follow don't know what happened before and after these civil rights were enacted. And that's what we got. We have a bunch of ignorant motherfuckers. They know everything about video games and popular culture that doesn't mean anything, and other people's business, and tell me a story about a celebrity that you had a bad experience with Muhammad Ali's wife, because I had no idea of this. All I know is this Muhammad Ali's wife. I'm gonna have Muhammad Ali's wife on my show, but I got no idea what that means. Nor do I have the wherewithal to understand that it's an opportunity for me to elevate my clientele, my audience. It's an opportunity for me to introduce a level of insight and experience from a person who existed at a time that we are so far removed from, and share it and elevate and infuse this generation with this insight. Now, I don't know to do that, or I don't care to do that. I'm going to ask her, tell me gossip. Tell me gossip like a little fucking girl. It's like a little girl. Yeah, these niggas running around with these, and not that this guy is this kind of a guy, but running around with, guns, this, that, and the other, whatever, and they tune into gossip all day. All day long. I'm going to listen to gossip. Who did what to who? Who rapped this, that? Ooh, look what he did. Ooh, I'm gonna spread that. We're done. We're fucking done. Serious. We're fucking done. Y'all are finished. You motherfuckers better hope you don't get old. You better hope you don't get old, motherfucker, because it ain't gonna be good. It's not gonna be good. I'm telling you. You're not prepared at all. You have no infrastructure whatsoever. And if you think there's somebody coming to save you, ain't nobody coming to save you, motherfucker. If it ain't you, it ain't happening. That's a fact. That's a fucking fact. Shit is serious. Very fucking serious. So you understand what Section 2 of the Civil Rights Act has been, right? And this is how it's been used with the redistricting of these unfair maps, so that it's disproportionate that people who are anti anything that is in the best interest of melanated people have the majority of the voting influence. Right? That's how it's been used. So diluting our collective power to make sure that we are able to put people in place who will represent us in these different levels of government and so forth, right? And also, it has been used against at-large election systems, like, the main election systems all over the place, where everyone votes citywide and minority communities can get drowned out by larger white voting bloc. And they are moving in this way. They dragging a no teeth having, cousin fucking, pedophilic, red hat wearing asses with all their diseases and illnesses and can barely move up, but they get into that motherfucking thing and voting against your ass and against your interests. They're getting there. They're getting there. They're not they're not part of the popular, hot, cool culture. You know, their kids, for the most part, don't think that all the cool shit, they're not going to the NBA. There's no chance of it. They're not going to the NFL for the most part, and there's no chance of it. They're not going to become a big popular rapper, whatever. Eminem was about all y'all gonna get. So they aren't participating. They're on the outside of the bubble that we have created within this whole entertainment pop culture thing. They're envious of it. They are jealous of the lifestyle that it has produced for a great many. And they have nothing else better to do but try to figure out ways to destroy it and bring it down. Even if it won't change, and it won't. Bringing us down won't change their situations at all, as the farmers out in the Midwest are finding out when they thought that all these white people, you know, because these people are coming across the border and taking their jobs. Well, you've run all the people off that you haven't locked up into these concentration camps. And none of that shit is getting picked. You got white people sitting around, standing on lines to get food, free food, or whatever have you. But ain't none of them running to go pick those motherfucking, pick those crops. They ain't running to pick those crops, are they? At all. So they don't care that it won't serve them. All they want is for us, to stop living these leading popular culture that's indicative of us having this extraordinary life and existences that they can't access because they don't have the talent or the skill or the ability or the creativity. That's all. They just want you to stop shining. That's it. And this is how they work that. This is the only power that they can access. And they jumping on it. And y'all have no idea what the fuck is going on. You don't have any idea what the Civil Rights Act of 1965 is. You don't have any idea what Section 2 of that particular act is. You don't have any idea of how gerrymandering counters that, and you don't think it matters. If you think about it at all, you must think that there's somebody else that's going to make sure that what they're doing doesn't happen. You think that your attention should be directed towards whose ass is fattest, and you know who got the latest up on their op. You're the walking fucking dead. I don't know what exactly is going to happen. I can think of a bunch of things. None of them are good as it relates to us as a collective overall. None of them are good. Y'all are not prepared for any of this shit. The average teenager to young 20-something, not prepared for none of this shit. Y'all won't know what to do. What you gonna do? Lose your mind and just go burn stuff, break stuff. Yeah, they want you to do that. So they can take and go to the next level with it. The next level is declaring martial law and enforcing it in your community. Coming and making sure that you are not outside after 9 o'clock without special permission. And if you are, you're going into a concentration camp. How do I know? Because it's already happened. It's already happened. If you had any wherewithal about history, you would know this has already happened. These things already happened. Y'all just have, many of y'all have this thing where y'all are so, I don't know, emotionally fragile that you don't want to pay particular attention to anything. Like with the MOVE thing in the 70s in Philadelphia, where they dropped bombs on a house full of women and children. And y'all don't want to pay that no attention. You see that shit, you scroll right by it. Because you can't handle it emotionally, psychologically, can't handle it. Or you think it doesn't matter because it already happened. Or you think it doesn't matter because they're going to do what they want to do, anything. There's nothing we can do about it. You only think that because you haven't empowered yourself with the information as to what exactly you can do about it. Because if you don't think it's that's been happening, and it doesn't happen as much as it used to because of things that people figured out they could do about it, then you really aren't paying attention. There is things you can do about it, but you can't stand around smoking your life away, drinking your life away, video gaming your life away, chasing sex all fucking day long, and defend yourself against attack. You're going to have to choose, especially now, one or the fucking other. One will distract you while you are destroyed. The other will put you in position to do something to avoid being destroyed. So y'all determine which of those should be your priority. If anybody has to tell you that, you're already lost. Let me give you a simple example of what this is. But in fact, let me share this with you and why this matters now. Recent court action in 2026 sharply narrowed Section 2, making it harder to win these cases by requiring these cases, meaning that Section 2 enables, remember, it enables people to sue when they are, when their county or their, wherever they are, is implementing laws that are undermining to their rights or their ability to vote in a way that is favorable to them, to pick the what they call them, the word clients keep popping in my head, but the politicians that are in their favor, who are like the Jasmine Crockett's and so forth, the people who are trying to do things to make sure that melanated people maintain their ability to live a civil existence, experience a civil existence in this society. So the Civil Rights Act, Section 2, enabled people to be able to sue when they were being treated unfairly. So this recent, in 2026, like last week, and I mentioned this about 4 months ago, that this was something that was being worked on. They were trying to undermine Section 2. So that's gone through. It's been passed. You could thank what they call it, Supreme Court for that shit, right? And so recent court action in 2026 sharply narrowed Section 2, making it harder to win these cases by requiring something closer to proof of intentional discrimination. Now, how are you going to prove intentional discrimination? How are you going to prove it? Unless you get a video or audio of somebody saying, what we need to do to keep the black people from having any influence on this vote coming up is we need to. That means that somebody within that's part of that conspiracy circle would have to actually like whistleblow. They would have to divulge that. Not that that doesn't happen, but if you're relying on that, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, right? Civil rights groups warn that this could let more biased maps and voting systems survive, especially in places where minority voters already struggle to turn population into political power, right? So they're talking about places where people are not the larger part of the community. They might be 40% of the community, but the other 60% is voting in a way that will disenfranchise, make life worse for, completely ignore the concerns and the lives of the other 40%, to reduce them to lesser people in their own communities. So like, they're voting for some company not coming in and building a data center and then siphoning all the water from their community and poisoning the water and poisoning the air and adversely affecting them. And they don't have health care and they don't have any of the things that can help them to defend themselves or counter the negative impact of this data center being put there. But the larger part of the voting block, based upon the redistricting, is in a position they can say, well, fuck them.
We want it.
And there's nothing they can do about it. How is that any different than what it was like for people during the Jim Crow era, where they couldn't, before, you know, black melanated people had the ability to vote? How is that any different? How is it different from being disempowered, being disenabled to vote in your own area where your life is in fact impacted by whatever it is, you know, is being done? How is it different when you can't make a difference and you not being able to vote at all? What's the difference? There is no difference. It's the same outcome. You don't get shit. You get what is given to you. That is the condition that is being created all over the place. And they got money and they got momentum and they have motivation to do this, even though a bunch of this shit is counterproductive to white people who are economically in really no different situation than most melanated people. The only interest they got in it is they get to see black people suffer like they have mostly been suffering. They've been suffering. But they look on TV and all they see is a black guy flying through the air with a basketball, a black guy driving a Rolls Royce, or a black guy doing this. And they almost don't see the white people, you know, because the white people are behind. Like, they don't recognize, like, yeah, LeBron is a very popular athlete, whatever this and the other, but he don't own the team. Y'all representation owns the team. The record labels. Y'all see, they just don't live their lives out front with all this attention and all that. But white people largely, I guess, are under the impression that they got all the power. The black people have all the power. They're not accustomed to seeing black people with this much visual prominence. In their mind, this has been going on for the last 40 years for sure. In their mind, black people are taking over because of the degree of prevalence we have in terms of prominent, you know, representation on, you know, TV screens and so forth or whatever. And that bothers them. For some reason, they think that because we are and have been, a few of us, handful of us have been making some sort of progress, that they're losing, you know, ground. It's simple-mindedness. It is pure stupidity and ignorance. But they have never had really a necessity to really be informed and educated, because with or without that, their whiteness gives them, if not access, at least a sense of having access, you know. And with the prominence of our imagery being put forth constantly on all popular mediums, they have this kind of this psychosis that makes them think that, oh, we're losing ground. We're losing ground. It's like, it's
Like,
and that's how.
so the same thing with women saying hoes is winning. It's like, no, hoes is just popular and on TV. They're not winning.
That's a valid point. That's a valid fucking point. That's a valid point. And that hoes is winning shit started about what, 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I started seeing that. Hoes is winning. Hoes is winning. Is like, really? You got a very short-sighted perspective on what winning is, if you think that. You really do. For real. What else here? So, a simple example. If a city draws a map so black or Latino voters are split up and can't elect anyone they support, Section 2 has been the main legal weapon to challenge that. Before the recent narrowing, the focus was on the effect of the map. Now, it is much harder to use the law unless plaintiffs can show something close to deliberate discrimination. That's a fucking game. That's a game. I'm saying, can you said that I'm the one that, I'm gonna use an example for you from when y'all were little. I leave the house I go to Mama Leone's to go grab us one of our favorite dishes, that chicken parmesan. Remember that chicken parmesan from Mama Leone's over there when we live in Hackensack? So
That
I go,
lemon chicken parma.
yeah, bro, I come back and it's peas on the wall. And they got their own dining area, these guys, right? And I'm looking and I'm like, bro, the fuck? And it was usually Chaz or you, usually, right? And so I know y'all my babies. I know who does what. I know whose personality makes who inclined to do what. And I point to the guilty party and I go, why did you do that? And y'all be looking at me like, how you know I did it? It's three of us here. Any one of us could have done it. How you know I did it? Because I know you and I know your personalities. I know what you're inclined to do. I know the kind of things, kind of antics that are particular to your personality. So yeah, I know you did that. Well, nobody can tell because we don't play that. Nobody can say it was him. Nobody can do that. But you can say it was me to avoid everybody else dealing with the consequences. But without authority, I had no way of imposing any type of compensatory punishment, right? I didn't beat them, but okay, you are going to have to wash the dishes, dry the dishes, and put them away. You. And sweep the floor and mop. You're going to have to do that. That's you. That's on you for that, right? And without them being able to say, I know for sure that you, white people in this community, have conspired secretly to prevent us from having access to these resources, or you're doing something on purpose that you know will adversely hurt us, without me being able to hear you or see you doing it, even though I can see the after effect. There's no way in the world that you did not understand, y'all didn't understand that by y'all doing what you're doing, that it would have this extremely adverse effect on us. There's no way you didn't know that. You knew that. You knew that when you said, yeah, we do this, we do that, that'll happen. This will happen to them and they'll lose this or they won't have access to that. You knew that. You knew that. Y'all knew that that would happen. But it's like, did you see us? Did you hear us? Can you prove it? Regardless of the outcome, regardless of the peas being on the fucking wall, and I know that, motherfucker, y'all were the only three in here. One of y'all did it. Y'all are all party to it, without being able to say, like I have done on occasion, what was something that I did that enabled me to know exactly who had done what? You remember?
Record us. Yeah, come on. have cameras, have hidden cameras and watch.
So one day I leave and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go grab something. And I had a mini video camera, and I set it up behind a picture that was pointed directly, it was on top of a speaker pointed directly at at their dining table. And naturally, I come back and some shit has been done. Cause I mean, they're 6 and 7 years old. Like, of course they're gonna do some shit. They're in the fucking house by themselves. So I come back and I'm like, all right, who did it? I don't know. I don't know who did it. Wasn't me. I don't know. I go, oh, okay. I go to the kitchen. I set shit down. I come back out. I look at them and I go over to the speaker and I pick up the camera and I hold the camera up and I go, let's see. All of a sudden, motherfuckers start confessing because it's like, oh shit, this motherfucker put a camera on us. So
I was cursing because he was cursing. Because he cursed at me. Niggas started telling me that. He cursed at me. So I said, shut the fuck up. Because he's a big, like, I ain't going to let nobody talk to me like that. You just sat there and died.
So, unless we can stick cameras up these crackers' asses, This shit right here, this narrowing of the power of Section 2 of the 1965 Civil Rights Act is going to be essentially the death knell. And know that that nigger, Clarence Thomas, supported this shit. All right? Know that. That's it, man. That's it. Son, I love you. Be safe up there, man.
Love you too.
All right? The rest of y'all, think critically so that you may live wonderfully. Peace.